Hello, everyone, and welcome to ValueDemand.com. This is episode 9, and we are covering the trade up program and your competition. So, first, a, a question. For homeowners that are juggling a sale and a purchase, what pulls more attention from that homeowner? Do you think it's the excitement of the new home or the pressure of selling the old one?
Wait, the attention of who
Of
exactly?
the seller, of the home seller.
Probably the pressure.
Yeah, I would like to say the pressure of selling.
Yeah, same
That's
here.
like that's very much a realtor's perspective. Boom. You're on it. You're all realtors. Courtney, especially you. You're like already now a real estate agent. That's not what they're thinking about. They're thinking about, I can't wait to get to the new home. They're actually more of a buyer than they are a seller. That's why that trade up program has so much pull to it for them. So we're gonna jump into it. I'm gonna give you guys an example. Um, Courtney and Stephanie, you've met today's example. Um, so let's just like review the unique value proposition, the UVP or the value proposition of the trade up program. And so it's the idea of these two circles that converge, right? One of them is a feature that is something you have, and the other one is the benefit to the consumer. And you guys may have remembered this from, I think, lab number 2 or 3. We started to talk about the UVP. And, any business solves a problem for whoever is purchasing that thing. Even if it's like a luxury good or something you just want, it is solving a problem. And so thinking about it with that mindset is really important when we're thinking about value propositions. So today's demonstration of the Trade Out program is brought to you by Bowling Green and Middlesbury Ridge. And Bowling Green was the house of a friend, client, and business associate of mine named Lauren, and she was the transaction coordinator for our office of, I think it was probably, I don't know, 180 or 200 agents. So, and Lauren used to work for one of the top, the top person, real estate agent in Fountain Valley, California. And so she'd done lots and lots of transactions, knows lots of agents. The main issue was that the seller, in this case Lauren, she's a licensed broker. As I said, she was an assistant, knows lots of real estate agents, but she was going to need to sell her home in order to buy the next one. And her partner had been commuting from Costa Mesa to Calabasas for I don't know how many years. I mean, that's an insane commute. It's all the way kind of like North Orange County, but then you have to cross all the way through LA, all the way through the valley and to Kardashian country. And that's at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. I think sometimes it would take him 3 hours. And the main issue that they ran into is as they were getting their house ready, and we had talked about the trade up program, they actually found the house that they wanted to buy. So they had that immediacy of like, that's the house I want. It was the taste and the look of the house was very them. So it was completely on brand for them. And they needed to sell their house in order to buy the next home. And they were going to have a contingency in this case. If they would have gotten further along in their sales process, they could have sold, put the buyer on the back burner, and then maybe even had it pretty deep into escrow with a lot of the contingencies removed, and they might not have even had to put a contingency of sale on their purchase. And we can recover any of this if you guys want to jump in and go, hey, what about this or what about that? I'm going to give you some examples, and I'm going to show you the contract that was used. So the one of the issues and one of the problems that the trade up program solves, and the guarantee of sale in the trade up program, it not just works for the consumer, in this case Lauren, who was selling her house and buying the next one, that guarantee works for the real estate agent of her purchase. And when we tell that real estate agent, hey, we're pricing experts, we have a guarantee on this, so we're actually going to lose commission before they lose anything, and they're more likely to remove their contingency sooner or just with more confidence. And that puts us in a much better position with that listing agent. You know, the listing agent in most real estate transactions is the quarterback. It's their job. The buyer's agent has a tendency to follow the listing agent. And really, my job as a buyer's agent is to make the listing agent comfortable. And this is included, right? So that was a very important moment in the negotiations. This is their house, 328 Bowling Green Drive in Costa Mesa. They had just finished the outside when we took the pictures. You can see this is in 2016. It came on the market at $739, and it actually sold for $760, but there were some repairs that were given back on the price. This is the home that they wanted to buy on 7026 Middlesbury Ridge. This is in West Hills, so it's very close to Calabasas. Because of the fact that I use appraisal guidelines and adjustments, I'm comfortable everywhere my MLS will cover. I cover, however, probably about maybe an hour's drive in any direction. That's about as far as I take the trade-up program in general. So all the way out to Calabasas. I've actually done it as far as Camarillo, to the north of me. Currently, I sit in Long Beach, but I used to live in LA and I used to live in Orange County. And all the way down to San Clemente and all the way into the mountain community. So I cover a big area for the trade-up program because we get a lot of lateral movement in Southern California. When people live here, they don't want to move again. And so it was really, really beneficial to me personally when I started doing the trade-up program. And this is why Lauren hired me. She knew all these real estate agents. It's probably not for my personality, but Lauren knew all these real estate agents, but I was the only one who came to her and said, I have an offer for you. I have a proposition. I sell your house in Costa Mesa. I'll guarantee the sale. I'll guarantee it at the price it would appraise for using adjustments and guidelines. And so when we put the offer in on that Middlesbury Ridge house, the seller multiple offer that came back to us, was this, which is the seventh one, item 4B of RPA, that was the item number back then, and COP, the contingency of sale, buyer to remove their contingency of sale of their property within 10 days of acceptance of the offer. So that agent and I had done a lot of verbal negotiations back and forth around this. We had actually pushed the price up of their house. They had just come back on the market. So they had come back on the market at $729. They had previously sold it for over that. Michelle, the listing agent, worked a lot like I did. And so my job was to convince her to take our offer. We were the right buyer. we'd offer her a little bit higher a price. We needed a contingency. We would put the contingency on a limited basis. So that's what we agreed to. So we actually got a counter that we were expecting, and that's what it looked like. So again, the main problem that's here that we're solving is the timing problem, right? The catch-22 of real estate. You want to buy, but you need to sell. And so you have this timing problem. And there's so many different ways we can work out the timing problem when we do guarantees, when we do performance guarantees, because we just put our money up front. And the listing agent actually knew this. So I'm selling the marketing blitz to Michelle, the listing agent on Middlesbury Ridge. I'm selling her the pricing expertise. I'm selling her our guarantee because we're going to lose before our buyer does. They're not trying to, buy a different house. They're trying to buy her house. They're making every effort possible. So this is what the combination, and you guys are familiar with these, right? On the far left, we have someone in the waiting room. Oh,
Sorry,
yeah. Maybe somebody, that's weird. Maybe it was the AI joining in. So we have the following. At the top is the listing, Bowling Green. You see it's $739, and then we sold really for $760, but we gave back $12K in repairs. They wanted that off the price rather than in a credit. It's up to them. I didn't particularly like the way this agent negotiated. Neither did my seller, Lauren. But nothing to do. They really wanted that house, so they actually probably gave up a little bit more in repairs than they needed to, and I would have preferred that it was credited back. And it's not because I get paid a little bit more on a higher price. I actually want the MLS to reflect the higher price that I sold the house at. That's just me as a salesperson. I think that's the most accurate way to pitch it. And you can see at the time the condition rating there that I did, and the percentage point per average I was doing at the time was like 3%. So that came out to about 25,000. You can't really see it because I overlapped it a little bit too much, but that's what that says underneath the overlap is 25,000 in the condition adjustment box. And so the fully adjusted fair market value of that home on Bowling Green using appraisal guidelines was $745,110. We priced it just a little bit below that. The demand ratio was actually 100% at the time, and we did sell, quite a bit over that. But we had to do it very fast, and we didn't really have the time to get like 10 offers. As it was, I think we got 6 offers. We countered back, I think, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 of them, surprisingly, and we ended up with this one. They chose this one because this was all cash. The buyer of this was all cash. I think they removed all of their contingencies within 7 days. It's just the inspection one came right at the end. My buyer, who was buying Middlesbury Ridge, also the seller, right, was up against a time crunch, maybe a 3-day differential. And they were just like, forget it. We want the house more than we want anything else. More than we want to sell for top dollar. We want that house on Middlesbury Ridge. So do you guys understand why I asked what I asked from the very beginning? Which is, what is it? Like, what is it when a buyer is buying and selling? What are they? And sometimes, every once in a while, they actually are more of a seller than they are a buyer. And that happens sometimes when somebody is buying down. They're buying down. They're buying down either for economic reasons or they're buying down as part of their retirement strategy. They're trying to maximize what they get on the sale of their house. And so what they're buying doesn't matter as much to them, but the sale of their house matters the most. That's when like I think Courtney, Jacob, I didn't hear you, Steph, but I think Natsuko, everybody thought, yes, it's the sales side. But most of the trade up, even when it's lateral, but a lot of the trade up when it's actual trade up, they're really looking forward to their purchase. They're like, I'm sick of that home. It would be like that person that we met the other day, Karen. I really want a house that has lots of storage and a pool and like just a nicer house. Any questions at this point? I know I rattled through a lot of it very quickly. Part of it is because I'm in vacation mode. The other part of it is because I wanted to leave time for us to go back and forth through some stuff. We certainly could talk about our new listing and what it appraised for, what it evaluated for using appraisal guidelines and adjustments, and what we priced it at, because that's it's a very high priced home, and by percentage I think we only priced it maybe 2% or 3% ahead of the market. Do you remember, Court?
The percentage?
Yeah, we both brought it in at about
1.9.
1.9. So it's 1,849 divided by 1.9. Yeah, so that's like kind of 2.5%.
Mhm.
I'm not just being cute here with the force. I really mean it. Like your value proposition should ring in your head when you're talking people to people. You should always find a way for them to better understand you through your value proposition. Thoughts, questions, comments? I hope it's becoming more and more clear how you would use this and sell this to people, right? You're selling yourself, but you're selling this. I find it's much easier to sell a product like the trade up program than it is to sell myself. Like, oh, I'm the greatest. That seems too ego forward. But I have a product for you. It's called the Trade Up Program. It's got the guarantee of sale. It's a performance guarantee. It's based on my expertise of pricing. Here it is. That to me is the right way to sell.
I think back on our first statement of whether they're more focused on buying or selling. If I think about it, in the one that I had where they sold and bought, I'm like, yeah, I can see it because they gave me not a lot of details about the house that they were selling, but they gave me so many details about the one that they wanted. And they were like,
Right,
oh, yeah, whatever with the listing side, that's fine as long as we can get this.
right,
Okay, sounds good.
right. Is it that it's really interesting. You know, I still find that to be the case. That and it's strange. It's almost like I give them a guarantee on their listing, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. I remember that maybe somewhere in the back of my head. But what that does, what that guarantee, what that price does that I'm guaranteeing it at, it's really expectation setting. And then they think, wow, that's such a powerful promise. I can forget about that, and they just concentrate on what they want.
Yeah. Another point that I was thinking of is, on the buyer or seller side, if they were really happy with where they were and they loved their house, they wouldn't be selling it.
It's it's pretty logical.
So yeah, they're more focused on what they want because they wouldn't have been selling it if they didn't want something else. So they're probably more focused on what they want. So I was like,
So
oh, talking about it, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
if you've been if you've been a real estate agent that has a lot of lateral movement in your market, and you've been a real estate agent for, 5 or 10 years or more, I can guarantee you've done buy sell combos many times. The difference between you and me is that I make a promise up front and set an expectation. I actually gamble with my commission, and that tells the consumer so much about who I am. Any other thoughts, you guys, on the trade up program? Natsuko, I know we were doing the, and you may have had to grab something. I know Natsuko's also leaving for vacation soon. Um, I know when we did the listing presentation earlier this week, you guys were kind of like, oh, it's starting to make sense for me now. It's not just if a seller is using it or not, it actually is useful for them. Even if they're not doing the trade up program can still work for them. Does this help make it more clear so that you could explain it? And I don't even mean explain it using scripts and dialogues, just like you really understand it. Courtney, do you think that there's a pretty good chance we're going to do a trade up on catamaran?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Hmm.
You guys, that first trade up I did, way back in 2006, that house, the buyer rushed me to their house. So I showed them the house on La Roca, and then they were like, well, so tell us about the trade up program. And I was like, well, I'll guarantee to sell your house. And at that time, uh, because I had done Craig Proctor stuff, it was, or I'll buy it, right? So I would have put money down, got a loan, and bought their house because I could do that back in 2006. But um, the seller of La Roca did not accept their offer. The seller thought the offer was too low. The seller was priced at 8 at the time. They made a 750 offer, and the seller said no. But the really important part was after I showed them the house, they said, well, now what? And I said, well, I guarantee to do this. And they said, well, what do we need to do? And I said, well, I need to take a look at your house so I can give you the price I'll guarantee it at. And they said, okay. And I wasn't tying appraisal to it back then. I was just giving them a guaranteed price. And I gave them the guaranteed price. And they said, great, what do we do now? And I said, we just need to sign a listing agreement. So they signed the listing agreement so we could make the offer on La Roca. And the offer was not accepted. But they kept the listing agreement. They kept me as their buyer's agent because they still wanted a trade up program. And I told them I would do it on other houses too. And so we kept looking. And then when the seller of La Roca finally was really motivated and came to me and they said, we need to sell now, I said, you need to move your house to 750. They actually screamed at me over the phone. And and I said, that's just the starting price. We ended up with three offers once we moved it to 750. And I actually wrote two of the offers with two buyers. Every once in a while, I run into somebody, an agent, who will say, oh, I don't double in properties. And I'm like, well, you wouldn't even do it if it was for the benefit of your seller? And they were like, well, I guess I would. And I was like, that's all. And I actually did. It's funny, long before I did the trade up program in 2001, I sold the house that I owned. I had just become a real estate agent about 6 months before. And the house that I owned was a little two-bedroom house in downtown Huntington Beach, very close to the beach in this little historic section called Lake Park. And it was a small Spanish style house that was built in the 20s. And I thought to myself way back then, who's going to want to buy this house? I was thinking like a seller, but I was also the real estate agent, right? I was selling my own house. And so I thought, well, I bet you it would be somebody who doesn't mind living in a small house, so a small place, but maybe they were sick of their condo association or they wanted more of a yard. And there were these three really big condo complexes just down Lake Street. Um, and those are called the Huntington Bays, I think, or something. I forget what they're called. Anyways, um, so I went, before I ever had a trade up program, I went and dropped off flyers. I didn't even knock on doors. I just dropped off flyers saying this house was for sale. And one of the owners of a unit there called me, said they wanted to see it. I ended up selling them the house on Crest and selling their place so that they could buy that one. So I was doing trade ups long before I was saying I was doing trade ups. That's a big difference between real estate agents who guarantee their work and those that don't. They may do a job, they may do a job pretty well, actually. I imagine, Jacob, you did the job pretty well for those clients. But I just don't um, say up front that I'm guaranteeing my work when I do it like you did it, Jacob. But if you would do it, why wouldn't you say up front, I would do it? Like, in my mind, that's the way to go, right? So, over all these years, I developed the language that we write into the residential listing agreement, and everything else that goes with it. What I think is necessary to sell a home for top dollar immediately and as smoothly as possible. And that's that marketing blitz that we use. Any other thoughts, comments, question? I can go through something slowly too. My favorite thing to do is to quiz the rookie of the year, Courtney Faust. My goal is every time you guys hear the trade up program, you think about it in a new way, you get excited in a new way, and you're like, I can do this. That's the goal. You know, the expertise in pricing, absolutely great. Essential to that value proposition, right? The value proposition should just spill out of your mouth all the time. It's just a great way for you to get to your expertise, that you're good at this job. Hey, Courtney, what do you think it would be like if I did not show up to the open house on Catamaran?
I could handle it.
That's awesome. That's right. That's all I'm looking for. I actually think you could handle it.
Me and
Um,
Stephanie together, not
yeah.
alone.
Do you um do you think you'd be comfortable making sure that everybody who walked through the door heard about the trade up program?
Yeah.
You'd probably be more comfortable now, wouldn't you? Now that you have the board.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hey, Steph, do you want to show the board? Do you want to screen share?
Yes, let me pull that up really quick. Okay.
Stephanie made us this super cool um, value proposition board. I've wanted to do this for years. I just hadn't done it yet, and Stephanie jumped in and did it.
Oops, let's close that.
I wonder if I should stop my share to make it
Can you see
easy.
it? Is it a big full screen or is it just like small?
It's full.
Okay.
You got to get to that tab. Nice. So this we've had printed like it's a yard sign, like out in front of an open house. So it's on that. How many mil plastic is it?
6 millimeter.
So it's 6 mil plastic. So it's fairly thick. It's gonna last. We'll just throw it on an easel, any open house we go on to. And it's just the bullet points that we want people to know how we're different. And then it ends in that QR code, which takes them, I believe, to that landing page on our website, right, Steph?
Mm-hmm.
This makes me more comfortable too, that at least if people look at this, it might bring up follow-up questions and force them to talk to us about a question they have. That's called reverse prospecting. Anytime you get someone else to approach you about a conversation you want to have with them, particular for us to real estate, that's reverse prospecting.
I have a quick question slash idea.
Nice. I like a question idea.
So one of the things my mentor Magdalena did and one of our lenders is I don't know what it is, but it's like they have something sitting on the ground and you can just pull it all the way up and then it kind of
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
itself.
Yeah,
How are you guys
yeah.
thinking of doing something like that so it's like really big?
Yeah, this is big. It's 24 by 36. But the cool thing about the one you're talking about, I mean, it's more portable, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
like in a tube and it just pulls up and hangs on there.
yeah, and it
Yeah,
comes
that's
with its
cool.
own
That
stand,
that
which is
sounds like
yeah,
it's hundreds of dollars to create that.
that's true. That's
How
true.
much did we pay, Steph?
62, I think, or 70, around 62 or 70. I have to look at the invoice. But
We can deal with the less portable aspect of it, right?
For $60, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
absolutely.
don't know. I bet you it's at least 250, Jacob. It's great. That's a great idea. It's cool. I think it looks totally pro too.
So good idea, but
Hi,
later idea.
Vincent.
No, I don't know, maybe now. Yeah, Natsuko.
Hi. Sorry, I needed to drive to my next appointment, so that's why I cannot. I'm driving and I cannot see the thing that Stephanie made. Would it be
Stephanie will
possible
send it to you, Natsuko.
to? Okay, that'd be great. Sorry, thank you so much.
No worries. Well, I can't wait to see Stephanie's board at work on Catamaran. You could even be like the life of a showgirl. You're
Yeah, no, right.
showing, you're like, and our trade-up program.
Mm.
Sorry, that's a little Swifty thing for y'all.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
This is Natsuko. I'm asking this question probably because I'm still not 100% confident in my pricing, but I know that I just quickly took a look at the board and I know that it says we guarantee the sale of your home, right? It doesn't, I probably you want them to ask you a question like what does it mean, but what we are guaranteeing with the trade up program is to sell the house at the fair market value, and if we the gap between the sale, I mean gap between the sales price of the house and the fair market value, right?
Yep.
So is there any case where we or you had to cancel the listing because there was sitting on the market for a longer time than you thought because the market shift or something like that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Natsuko. Actually, it's happening to me right now. We're getting Natsuko. Mute yourself, would you?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I think because of your phone, there's feedback. It's echoing. So, and when I stop talking, you can unmute yourself if you have some follow up. But one of the listings that I have right now, we keep getting the request for repairs, and it keeps being way more than the seller wants to give. So the seller's going to get take it off the market and then bring it back on later. And sometimes people do use real estate agents to test the market. They give you a listing, they give it to you at a price that you obviously agree to, and if it doesn't sell, it's no problem for them because they didn't really have to sell. They wanted to sell, but they didn't need to sell. So yes, it could happen, but it's not going to cost you any money. The only way they qualify for the trade up program is if they're buying another home with you. So it has to be a concurrent sale.
Right, right. Okay. So in a sense where they're just testing the market, not really buying with you in a concurrent situation, they don't really qualify even though we advertise for the trade up program which guaranteed the sale. And so basically you've never had a problem or people saying, "Oh, you guaranteed but you couldn't sell" or something like that.
No, because they always have the option to have it at the guaranteed price. There are some times where I've had clients who um, have a guaranteed price, but they still want to price it above that, and it sits for a while, and then we actually price under the guaranteed price because they finally take my strategy, and it gets pushed back up. If it doesn't get pushed quite back up, I still have to make up that gap. But I've had homes on the market for 2, 3 months when they finally swapped it to the right price, the one I told them to, even if it's below the fair market value, and then it gets pushed back up. There's a house that I sold over on Sandpiper in our current farm in Pacific Sands, and that house they had on the market for months, and then they finally said, okay, we want to sell. And I dropped them significantly below. I think it was the eval came in at 750. They wouldn't price below 775. They were on the market for months. We brought it down to 750. It still wasn't selling. And then finally I said, we need to bring it down. And I think I brought it down to 729. And then it got bid all the way back up to 770. It was above what we had previously listed at. That's how I know that pricing and repricing is the most effective way to sell property.
Thank you so much, Dominic.
You're welcome, Natsuko. I love giving people time to germinate. When I was a newer agent, I filled a lot of the space I thought it had to be filled. Sometimes I'll just sit there like that. This is really hard because I'm a very talkative person, but I'll just sit there at a listing appointment. I let everything settle. It's much better.
Yeah, it's hard for me to shut up when I start talking.
That it's totally common. That's really common. There's a saying, you know someone's selling when they're telling. Telling is selling. So you're telling somebody something, right? Even in our episodes, when I'm going through curriculum, I'm telling you something. I'm selling you this idea. I want you to understand or believe or agree with this idea. There needs to be time where it's just stopped. People absorb, and I want them to to have dialogue with me. And that's in the listing presentation as well. It's probably more important even on Zoom because people have to mute and unmute. Courtney, did you learn anything different? I mean, by far, I talk with you the most. We door knock together. We're on the same team. We're in appointments together. Did something stand out for you today? I'm wondering for myself, really.
I mean, I know mostly everything we're talking about. Um, Maybe just like the perspective in the beginning of the sellers, like how you're, talking about how they are more
They're
focused
a
on,
buyer.
yeah, the buyer. So
Yeah,
obviously it's something that
that's
stood out.
yeah, that's a great point. You don't have 5 to 10 years worth of experience in real estate,
Mhm.
right? So that would make sense that that's like a new idea to you.
Even our listing too, like they're buying that house in Utah, and so that's their main concern is getting that house. So that's why we're trying to sell this one before they can close on that one.
Tell
So
tell me more about that.
the whole reason that we're listing it right now is because they found a house in Utah that they want to do a 1031 exchange on. I don't know how a 1031 exchange works still. So, but
It's magic.
yeah, I know they need to sell this house, and they said that house will close. I think they said by February, right? So then we were like, oh yeah, no problem. We can sell your house before then. Yeah.
Originally, we were thinking, well, they said spring, we were thinking February, and then they called us 2 weeks later. That's like people who watch this video later, Courtney, they wouldn't know that, but that's why I'm filling them in with this
Yeah.
explanation.
Yeah.
We walked out of that listing presentation and I said, those are our clients. There, no one else is going to come in and take them. No one else, at least in our market, has our value proposition. No one would be able to do what we had just done because other agents don't do fully adjusted evaluations using appraisal guidelines. They don't even know how to talk about appraisal. They don't even talk about appraisal guidelines. They don't say things like, 60 to 75% of the buyers need to have an appraisal in order to get that loan. And don't you think this will be important if let's say we didn't have a trade up program just for a second, and somebody came into Catamaran, and they were the people who were offering the most amount of money. Let's say they offered 1,950, and they said, but we do have a contingency of sale. And the closest other offer was cash at 1,900. But these people needed to sell their house and they were offering 1,950. Do you think that the sellers of Catamaran would take the 1,950 rather than the 1,900? This is just a, a philosophical question. So there's a
Yes.
50,000. I, based on what we know about them, I think they would probably take the 1,950,000
Yeah.
and deal with the fact that buyer had to sell their property. But then what's going to happen? That property, let's say the buyer is in a 3 bedroom house and they want to have a bedroom downstairs and they want other bedrooms, and so they need that house and they got to sell their house in Westminster, and their house in Westminster is smaller, like Like that appointment that we went on. What do you think a house like that would sell for?
Wait, which one? The one,
The one they need to sell in like Westminster, Garden Grove, or anywhere like that to move close to the beach, get into Huntington.
yeah.
It's
How
probably
much?
going to be 1.4, 1.5,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was gonna say, like 1.5.
And in that price range, a lot more financing than in the price range we're selling. But our seller needs to know that their buyer, who's contingent on the sale of their property, is in a more appraisal sensitive market, right? Even if we're not representing that buyer, we're just vetting them, seeing how good they are. We definitely need to be able to vet them for price, but other agents can't vet them for price like we can, right? The price that they list that house that they need to sell at is everything. It's it's how fast they'll sell, it's how successful they'll sell, or they'll sell it all. That hopefully that even adds to that perspective, right? That shift for you. That like Bridget and Steve, they rushed the timeline. Usually it's real estate agents who rush the timeline.
Hmm.
In fact, I think I remember asking them, if you had somebody who wanted to buy it now, and they were like, no, just can't do it. We're going to be back here for the holiday.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, it's December 20th is the grand opening.
I know. Crazy.
Yeah, all their idea based on exactly what you just said, which is we're so in love with that house, hurry up.
Hmm. Yeah.
But also, side note, it meant they really were following our pricing recommendation.
Hmm.
So it's 9:48. I'm gonna stop talking for 1 sec. Natsuko, did that help? I know you're traveling, so it might be difficult to talk. Thank you for your safety. Jacob, any thoughts, ideas?
No, I think I got them all out earlier. The ones
Nice.
that I had at least.
When I was not as fluent in real estate and the trade up program. So for the first 5 years in business, I didn't do a trade up program. I didn't do anything like that. I learned some scripts and stuff, but I didn't do anything like that. Then once I really started to concentrate on it and talk about it all the time, I found that people were just more curious about it and they wanted to talk to me about it. And it really made it so much more fluid of a conversation. And it wasn't like I was trying to sell myself anymore. I was just talking about the thing. And, the more you talk about it, the better you'll get at it. Courtney and I were having a conversation the other day about just ego and our industry and, you know, people in real estate, not everybody, a lot of the people in real estate think of the business as selling themselves. They are the service provider, so they're selling how good they are at providing the service. You know, I don't I don't know too many people who are at the same level as I am with pricing. And even if they were an appraiser, they haven't focused on it, they haven't compared it to supply and demand, so they really don't know what I. But there are other real estate agents who are really great at it, great at selling property. They sell lots of property and they're great at working for buyers. They're great agents all over the place. Usually they think in their head, as I did, of selling yourself. You're selling yourself. It's why our industry kind of tilts ego heavy. But you sell this way, you're selling yourself kind of as a secondary thing. You're really selling this product that you have. The more you think about it that way, the better it will be for you, for sure. The value proposition is your friend. It is Obi-Wan in your ear. Well, you guys, it is 9:52, and that brings us to our exciting conclusion. Unless somebody has anything else that they maybe want to address, talk about, a short little review. Thank you. Our next episode is December 18th. I do not think that we will be doing a lab this next Tuesday. And then the 18th will obviously be our last episode of the year, because the 25th, of course, is Christmas Day. And the following one is New Year's. Natsuko, have a great vacation.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I couldn't unmute myself earlier.
No problem at all.
Thank you. I'm at the design center appointment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All
We
right,
will
everybody.
see
We
you
will
soon.
see you soon.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.